The new ANC's National Executive Committee met in East London yesterday ahead of the January 8 statement to take place on Saturday. This was the first NEC meeting after the ANC's elective conference in December. The NEC said the only subject of discussion on the agenda is the January 8 statement. Joining us from our Pretoria studios in Hatfield is Professor Lesiba Teffo. He is a political analyst and he's the head of the department of the Institute for African Renaissance at UNISA. Prof, thanks so much for joining us. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning to you and to the listeners.
Professor, did it come as a surprise to you? I think there was so much speculation ahead of this NEC meeting yesterday, and yet when it came out that the only thing discussed was the January 8 statement, people were like, "Really? Is that it?"
Well, look, the matter was discussed without being discussed and exhausted, in that there was already consensus that it shouldn't be on the agenda. And I would say precisely because at this stage, the unity movement seems to be saying, whatever else can be done to ensure that there is unity, let us do it. But that in the court of public opinion, there is much desire to see the head of state out of office. That within the rank and file of the ANC, there is a wish that he should give space. It's not something that still needs to be belabored. The fact is, there is unanimity as far as that goes. Those that still want to believe that it should continue, I think they know that there isn't adequate support to carry the day. And indeed, I would say even to Leanne, that in December we were at Mazrek.
Yeah.
Those who were for Zuma, if you were to count their number today, there will be much fewer than they were then. Because human beings across the globe follow power where it goes. I've heard Madam Komnyane, I heard Sir Mbalula, their tone has changed. And I have no doubt they will throw their weight when time comes behind the winning team.
Yeah. We again talk of speculation of what is under discussion and some of the key points that the ANC are facing right now. And if I can have a look at it, I mean, there is speculation on the announcement of the subject of state capture, of the current predicament of two presidents for the country, and the other for the ANC might creating two centers of power, causing that speculation that President Zuma might be recalled. What is your sense? I mean, do you think those are the key topics that the ANC need to address now?
Well, look, let's start with the easy one that ought not to be on the table in the first instance. Why should we still be talking about two centers of power? It was Jacob Zuma who told us in 2007 that there is no need for two centers of power. I'm elected as a head of the ANC, and Thabo Mbeki must give the space. The clips are there. It was him who said that. And I look at some people right in the face and say, oh, so you want to contradict the man who said yesterday that the ANC shouldn't have two centers of power. I have no problem with two centers of power. Either way, is as long as they can navigate the course and recognize that they are in it together, the more the merrier, right? I think that can work. Kgalema Motlanthe was head of state. Zuma was the head of the ANC. It worked. It can work if people want to. But they don't tell us it's because of selfishness and self-interest that they would want their own as number one as quickly as possible. It doesn't matter who that is, but that's how I look at it. The second point for me relates to the higher, maybe let's start with the land question. You see, the land question has been on the agenda for a long time, but I was really impressed by what I revisited yesterday, some of the clips by former head of state Thabo Mbeki. And this is my own observation, and I've alluded to this even in my publications, namely that the people in South Africa, at least for now, are more interested in money than in the land itself. It's just a proxy to say we want the land. If there is an either or question, people opt for money rather than for the land. And we have to educate them to understand and to appreciate that land is much more than money. It's much more than the soil itself. It's about the identity, it's about history, it's about our past, it's about posterity. Yeah. So that's the other point that I thought ought to have been on the agenda, and probably will be even on Saturday, and is going to dog them for a while, is that in an opportune announcement of the higher education question. It's going to be with us for some time. It's going to really dog us. Yes, nobody denies the fact that to the extent possible, the wretched of the earth should be financially assisted. Can we afford it to the extent it was announced and it ought to be covered? I doubt. There is sufficient research to that. But I would hope that rather than to push holus bolus, that they would be steady and ensure that it is implemented over 5 years, and the procedures and protocols to ensure that it doesn't fail ab initio.
Let's have a look and go back a bit in time. The announcement made 2 days ago on the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture. Do you think this was a calculated move on behalf of the President, as many commentators have suggested it is?
Well, yes. The President has reached a stage where whatever he does is received with some cynicism. And this reminds me of now Macbeth, who once said, "I have dipped my hands in blood." So much that going forward is as bad as going backward. Whatever he does, the people no longer have trust and faith in him, and he has earned that. But yes, I think it was a good move on his part, but it can only delay the ultimate. Because I don't think there is any doubt that within the ranks and files and within the populace of South Africa, there is a desire that the man has done a good job. To the extent possible, he must give way. Yes, it might buy him time. But then, Leanne, I'm saying, yes, you can even allow him to finish the year. The longer he stays as head of the head of state, the more advantageous it is to the opposition. Unfortunately, detrimental to the nation.
Yeah. Do you see him, just as a final closing note, in your personal opinion, do you think that President Jacob Zuma will see this year out? In fact, will he see it to the elections in 2019 as the President of South Africa?
I think that's what I'm alluding to, that I don't care either way it goes. I'm just an ordinary citizen. I would be happy with another person, because when he stays on, the country's economy and the general morale of the nation and the moral fiber of the society is taking a knock. Yeah. I certainly would. He's not the ultimate wrongdoer, but unfortunately is the personification and is a public persona of all that goes wrong with the African National Congress. Yet indeed, not all of them are bad. Yet indeed, there are men and women of integrity who can take the country forward. So I would hope, and I don't see how, in the next 3 months, there will be immense pressure on Ramaphosa and his team to ensure that he gives way. I can't see him really for the next 6 months. If they do that, I have no problem with that, because that would be to the benefit of the opposition. I hold no brief for the opposition. I hold brief for my country. I hold brief for the national flag and indeed the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa.
Let's leave it on that note. Thank you very, very much for talking to us here on Morning Live. That, of course, is Professor Teffo, giving us a picture of what might have transpired in the ANC's NEC meeting in East London yesterday, ahead of that January 8th statement, as the organisation celebrates 106 years of existence. Well, if you're interested in what's going on in Parliament and these rules that the subcommittee are going to be looking into with regard to the impeachment of a sitting president, that is coming up under discussion after the break. Do stay tuned.